Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I am Jennifer Mitchell, and I am responsible for the district's educational outreach. And today we have Deirdre Irwin, our water conservation coordinator, on the presentation today, and she's going to tell us all about the water conservation and the role that the district plays in ways that you are able to have an impact in water conservation. This is the second of our weekly webinar series that we're hosting at the district, and we are using it as an opportunity to provide education to our residents for the work that we do and how individuals are able to help protect our water resources. This series will continue weekly through May, so we have 3 more webinars after this one, and then we will be reassessing the schedule. The registration link for the next webinar series, which will be on May 14th at 10:30, is available on our website. We hope that you will join us for that next one, and it will be focusing on our yards and how our landscaping impacts water quantity and water quality. A reminder that this webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the St. John's website, St. John's River Water Management District website, and that is SJRWMD.com. And I would like to remind everyone that they will be on mute throughout the presentation, but we do encourage you to type in questions in that question box in your pane on the side that you have there. And feel free to type those in as they pop into your head, but we will get to them at the end of the presentation for a question and answer period. And we will get to as many of those as we are able to during the 30 minutes. And if we don't address your question during the presentation time, we'll reach out to you and get you an answer for that. So again, I really appreciate you coming today. And again, I am Jennifer Mitchell and am thankful for this opportunity. I wanted to give everybody a quick reminder about what we covered last week. And that is that, again, it's water conservation is all about today and tomorrow. Before we get started, let's do a quick poll to see who all is in attendance. Are you an interested homeowner, a utility employee, a local government employee, an educator or student, or a district employee? And you are able to actually select multiple choices. So for this one, you can be both a local government employee and an interested homeowner. You can wear multiple hats. About 80% of folks have given their input. And let's see who all was in attendance. So we have a lot of interested homeowners and some district employees. That's wonderful, and lots of local governments. I know that the local government role in those utilities play an important role in water conservation. So just that quick reminder that the St. John's River Water Management District is one of the 5 water management districts in the state, and it is our mission to ensure that we have enough water for us, the people of our district, our businesses, for us now and into the future, but also for those natural systems. And so we'll learn about how important that water conservation plays into that. You may be thinking, again, we live in a state where we're surrounded by the ocean. We get on average 54 inches of rain annually. We have over 7,700 lakes in our state, over 50,000 miles of rivers and streams. It doesn't seem like the amount of water that we have is something that is of concern. But remember, not all of that water is available for our drinking, and those natural ecosystems also need that water. So again, a quick poll of where is that water in your house coming from? So is it coming from the aquifer, a lake, ocean, or river, or you're just not really sure where that water comes from? So I will remind folks that since I don't know exactly where you are, and you may be tuning in from other areas, that I am not 100% certain able to answer where your water comes from, but I can tell you where most of the folks in our district, where that water is coming from. So let's see what people have said of where their water is coming from. So most folks are aware that their water is coming from the Floridan aquifer. So a real quick reminder about what that aquifer is. It is beneath our feet as that limestone system. And in our district, about 90% of our water comes from that Floridan aquifer. And it is really important because, as we'll talk about it, it's the best source of clean, abundant water. So I'm going to pass it on over to Deirdre and follow up with another poll question about, we know that we use water and that there are other people using water, but who do you think is using the most water in our district? So Deirdre, I'm going to hand it on over to you.
Okay, Jennifer, can you hear me all right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to seeing what folks think is our highest water use group, and that's where I'll start today. And I'm excited to share information about water conservation that will hopefully inspire folks to pay more attention to their water use in the future. So are the results of the poll up yet?
Absolutely. Let's get those up.
Okay, agriculture. It looks like folks believe that agriculture uses more than 50% of our water use, with utilities coming in second at 34%. So let's see what our most recent survey shows. The chart here shows exactly how much water was used by each water use category in our 2018 Public Water Supply Report. This is a report we put out every year. The 2019 one will be published soon. And as you can see, for that year, and usually most years in our district, public supply uses most water. That's our utilities. The report results can vary year to year depending on things like weather, rainfall, population increase, and even the economy. Agricultural use can increase in a dry year, but 2018 was a normal to wet year, so ag use was lower than other years. So to better understand the value of conservation, it's important to know exactly who's using the water and how much they're using. This graph I like to call our good news story, because it's important that it shows the water use in the district from looking back historically from 1995 to 2018. And as you can see, water use has been relatively stable with slight declines even, despite a population increase of 49%. Overall, in this time period, we have seen 19% decrease in water use despite the population increase. And look at the green bar, that's agriculture, and you can see it varies significantly. And the years where it's larger, 06, 1998, 2000, happen to be drier years. So I know this was covered briefly last time we all met, but I would like to share this important component of the district's work. We are legislatively mandated to develop water supply plans. They have a 20-year planning horizon and they're updated every 5 years. And in developing or updating these plans, our district analysts evaluate the available water supply and possible alternative water sources, the likely population growth for the region, and the associated water needs of that population. They also explore the conservation potential of each region within the district. So where are these regions? You can see on the next slide here that we have 3 main regions, but 2 of them happen to overlap with other water management districts. And in those areas, we develop a joint water supply plan. We work with many partners like the Department of Environmental Protection, Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, and many stakeholders like utilities, ag, industry, and even the general public. They all work with the district to develop these water supply plans that will chart the future of water use in the region. And I just want to note that the Central Florida Water Initiative draft water supply plan is available to read, review, and submit comments to until May 15th at 5 p.m. So if you're in that region and you're interested in learning more about how much water we have, how much we're going to need, and how we're going to meet those needs, go to cfwiwater.com and you can read that report. And we do value stakeholder input as we develop these plans. So you've heard me mention these other or alternative sources of water that are being used currently and some further explored for use. Take a look at their likely cost on this slide, and then you can see why conservation is an attractive alternative. The drop without a cost in the center is water conservation, because costs can vary considerably for water conservation projects. And I don't want to give the impression that water conservation is cheap or easy. Successful programs can be expensive and difficult to implement. It may seem easy just to have everyone use less water, but behavior change can be one of the trickiest things to achieve. And it's kind of like developing a new exercise regime. It's really about developing a new habit. So what is water conservation? Our Florida statutes tell us that the overall water conservation goal of the state is to prevent and reduce wasteful, uneconomical, impractical, or unreasonable uses of water resources. You can see that mirrors closely the U.S. Water Resource Council's definition. It's all about reducing the demand for water through a number of different strategies. So water conservation touches just about everything we do at the district. I've already mentioned the water supply plans, but also in our consumptive use permitting program, water conservation plays an important role, as applicants must demonstrate how they will feasibly reduce water use by implementing water conservation programs and activities. According to DEP, water conservation is the most important action we can take to sustain our water supplies, meet future needs, and reduce negative impact on Florida's water-dependent ecosystems like springs, rivers, lakes, and wetlands. While water conservation activities can be implemented by utilities, sometimes utilizing cost share programs of the districts through regulation, such as landscape irrigation restrictions, but most importantly, water conservation can be implemented by you. So to encourage water conservation in our district, our governing board has encouraged staff to fund numerous water conservation projects, both for agriculture and public water supply. In the agricultural cost share program, we have funded new and innovative irrigation and management techniques like irrigation efficiency upgrades, like Irrigation systems, center pivots, low volume micro spray systems. And to date, we have funded over 91 projects totaling $12.9 million, but yielding almost 10 million gallons per day saved. The non-ag agriculture, like utilities, we've funded rebate programs for efficient shower heads, faucets, toilets, as well as funding for more efficient irrigation systems, smart irrigation controllers, irrigation evaluations, and since 2014, we've funded 34 of these projects, totaling 4.4 million and yielding 6.5 million gallons of water saved per day. I urge you to take a look at what your utility might offer and see if they have a rebate or something available to help you conserve. I think we have a survey question coming up next. So what do you think in your home is the highest use of water? Is it showers, dishwashers, irrigation, or toilets? Okay, irrigation. We've got some informed attendees in this webinar. Irrigation being number one, showers and toilets, with dishwashers being the lowest. And I think you'll see in the next slide that really closely mirrors what we see in our district and what this national study from the American Water Works Association has shown. In our district, over 50% of water use, residential water use, is with irrigation systems. Now, I have to caveat that if the home has an in-ground automated system, over half is being used outdoors. Homes that do not have irrigation systems use significantly less. And the irrigation system oftentimes runs at night. The homeowner really doesn't realize how much water it's using, or if perhaps it even has leaks. Indoors, toilets remain the top water user, and I'll have more information on toilets shortly. Clothes washers have slipped in recent years, and that's due to the popularity of the new high-efficiency clothes washers. So moving on to indoor conservation then, there's a number of things that we focus in on to maximize conservation. Conservation can occur by replacing plumbing fixtures or appliances, or by simply using less water whenever possible, like turning the faucet off when shaving or brushing your teeth. Thanks to the changes in the Energy Star standard over the last few years, both clothes washers and dishwashers have become significantly more efficient. Likewise, the EPA WaterSense program labels toilets, faucets, showers as high efficiency, each of those saving 20% over typical use. Step one, however, if you're looking at indoor conservation, is to always check for leaks and address that waste before spending money on any other upgrade. Toilets, then, being the number one indoor user, efficiency of those devices or those fixtures have come a long way since the first generation of low-flow toilets. Even in Florida, in recent years, many new homes are being built with high-efficiency toilets. If you'd like to know what the flush rate of your toilet is, carefully lift the lid off the tank of the toilet and look inside for a stamp that will have a number gallons per flush. As the slide shows, it's 1.6 is what the Florida Building Code requires, but frequently it might be lower than that. Older homes, however, may have up to 3 or even 5 gallons per flush toilets. Many of our utilities choose to focus here first in their cost share programs. They work to replace these older toilets. And due to the long life of a toilet, it's a very cost-effective way of saving water. Moving on to faucets and shower heads. Again, the EPA WaterSense program has tested and labeled high-efficiency versions of these that are about 20% more efficient than what our Florida Building Code mandates in all new homes. These are inexpensive items and can have a long life of water conservation, so they are definitely worth evaluation for your home. Okay, moving outdoors. Saving water outdoors can have a major impact, probably even more so than indoors, because as I mentioned earlier, over 50% of residential use is outside the home, usually in the irrigation system. Some general tips include, first off, look for leaks from any of your hose bibs or from your irrigation system when you do a frequent test, which you should do once or twice a year to see if any of your sprinkler heads are leaking. That should be step one. Then consider how long you're actually watering, how long each zone is running, and reduce the time of watering by a little more each week. I don't recommend a rapid reduction in water use if you find you're overwatering, because it will be tougher on the grass and the plants to respond. So slowly cutting back each week is the way to do it. Check your irrigation shutoff device or rain sensor. That's that small device in the bottom right-hand side of the slide. These are required by state law. They are supposed to be wired into your controller so that when it rains during an irrigation cycle, it will automatically turn off your irrigation system. They don't have a long life, so if your house is a few years old, you might want to have that replaced. Waterwise landscaping, then, is kind of a common sense way to landscape that conserves water and protects the environment. The main objective is to maintain a healthy landscape by matching the right plants with the existing site conditions, so that the use of additional resources like water, fertilizer, and pesticides is minimized. As demonstrated by the University of Florida Friendly Landscaping Program, you can have a beautiful landscape that conserves water by selecting the right plant for the right place, reducing vast areas of irrigated turf grass, if possible, preserving any existing vegetation because it does not need water, and increasing the areas of shade in your landscape. Moving on to the topic of efficient irrigation, this is a pretty significant topic that really can take up a lot of time to discuss. We're going to talk about it next week, but some of the primary principles that you should be aware of is efficient design, making sure your system is designed to maximize efficiency, making sure it is scheduled correctly at the timer so you're not overwatering, and then finally conducting frequent maintenance over time. If all three of these things are happening, you will have a very efficient system. If you have a well-designed system but you're overwatering, you've lost a lot of the benefit. So if you're planning to join us next week, I have a homework assignment. If you have an in-ground system, become familiar with the irrigation system. Make sure you know how to use the clock or the timer. Take a look at your zones and what they're watering. Look at the individual sprinkler heads to see if you have rotors or sprays, and then also look for leaks. And then we will discuss this topic in more detail next week. The other thing I would like to talk about regarding irrigation is the St. John's River Water Management District irrigation restrictions. And these more or less tell us all when to water to maximize efficiency and still have an attractive landscape. The restrictions say for residential, if you have an odd-numbered address, your watering days are Wednesday and Saturday in the summertime, and just Saturday in the winter. Even-numbered addresses have Thursday and Sunday, or just Sunday in the wintertime. No more than 1 hour of watering per zone, and there are a few exemptions you can see on the slide for new plantings, micro, and etc. We all need frequent reminders for conservation. I know I do. So the Water Less campaign was developed in October of last year by the Water Management District's Office of Communications. It focuses on savings from irrigation use. Remember, this is the greatest area of potential for savings. It's a year-long campaign with 4 main messages for different times of the year, and it pairs traditional and digital media to engage the public and our stakeholders to remind them of how to conserve outdoors. Many of our local government partners and utilities have joined us and are sharing this material also. And we're about to move into our phase of don't set it and forget it, reminding people to not overwater in the summer when we're having a lot of rainfall. As many of us are working from home, it may be easier to pay more attention to outdoor water use and to remember water savings lead to an ever important financial savings at the end of the month. Finally, another program that the district is very proud of is the Florida Water Star program. It launched in 2006, and it's now a statewide program supported by all the water management districts. It provides a pathway for builders to produce and build homes that perform at a much higher standard for water conservation, and issues a certificate to confirm that high performance. So what can you do? Conserving water has become an important issue, as you've learned in this webinar. It's a very personal decision, and it's largely a matter of changing long ingrained habits. It is also easy once you identify the low-hanging fruit in and outside your home. Reach out to your utility, as they may be able to help you conserve in the form of fixture rebates or of irrigation evaluations. Not only will you save water and money, you're contributing to the long-term sustainability of Florida's water supply. I have one more suggestion. It's an activity we have on our website. It's a home water use survey. And this can be a fun way, especially if you have school children at home, to run through this house and see how you can save water. You can actually input information and create a report to calculate the gallons per person per day for your household. So according to the survey, my family, currently 5 of us, a little larger than usual, uses 375 gallons per day. Divided by 5 is 75 gallons per person per day. And I confirmed that in my recent utility bill. So try this at home and see if you can try to reduce your use in the coming months and compare it to your utility bill. So Jennifer, I hope I didn't go too long there, but that is all I have, and I'd really like to hear if we have any questions.
Absolutely. I do have 2 follow-up polls now that you have gotten to hear how much Deirdre and her family use per day. How much do you think, before you've had the opportunity to get on our water use survey, do you think you're using at your home? Are you using less than 30, between 30 and 50 gallons, between 50 and 70, between 70 and 90, or more than 90 gallons? Let's see what folks think that they're using. So it looks like a lot of folks are thinking that they use between 30 and 50 gallons. The district average for last year, and again, this will change from year to year, but last year it was 84 gallons per person per day. So a lot of times we often forget about including that water that is used outside when we're coming up with those estimates of how much we're using. And the final question I have will lead us into our questions. So if you have any of those questions, please start typing those in. But it is a question of what is, after hearing Deirdre talk about how important water conservation is and ways that you're able to conserve water, what is the new conservation behavior that you're going to take that can be your part, your new thing that you're going to try? So all new habits take about 30 days, right, to establish. So are you going to be able to reduce the length of your showers? Are you going to change out your fixtures? Maybe adjust your irrigation, because that is one of the larger users. Or if you're already doing a whole lot within your own home and in your landscape, working to tell your neighbors and friends about what you're doing. Water conservation is definitely not one of those things that we can see is going on typically. Like, you can see when people are watering in the rain and you can shake your fist about it. But if you're watering properly, there's not anything that indicates that you're doing it correctly, or that you're saving water, or that you're taking a shorter shower. So let's see what everybody is going to start doing. So this is wonderful. Lots of folks manually adjusting their irrigation and telling neighbors and friends about their water conservation. Fabulous. So for our questions, we have one here, Deirdre, that says, do you know how much reclaimed is available for use in the Central Florida water area?
Oh, that's a very detailed question, and I don't have that number in my head right now. I know that our utilities down there have a significant amount of reclaimed that is being used. It varies utility by utility. Some of them even are at capacity, where and just a note there, it takes waste from 5 homes to produce enough water in reclaimed water for 1 home. So they're getting that supply treated and back out to homes. You're kind of in a little bit of a deficit there, but I don't have the exact number, but we can get back with the person and tell them exactly how much is available.
Absolutely. And I know that we have a really great graphic about the amount of the reclaimed water that is generated, and a much higher amount of that is used in that Central Florida area versus as you start moving northern in our district. There is a question here about, are there incentive programs to reduce or eliminate turf grass in favor of Waterwise Landscaping?
There are some. In fact, a couple of utilities in Central Florida, I'm thinking of Oviedo in particular, launched a turf swap program many years ago, and it was extremely successful, and so much so that they actually changed their landscape code, and now they just allow you to have much less turf grass. We also have a very successful program in Alachua County, where there are very large yards that use a lot of water in some of their neighborhoods, and they have succeeded in converting to landscape beds with micro irrigation from large turf grass areas. I think how a lot of the utilities choose to go about this, instead of trying to market and get homeowners to change behavior, they are focused on new homes, and they've dramatically reduced the amount of allowable irrigated area.
Fabulous. Is there provision requiring reclaimed water lines in new developments or new road work?
Yes, it's very common that in our utilities that have reclaim systems, which is most of them, and by the way, the district has worked tirelessly over the years to help our utilities develop these alternative supplies, so to help them develop their wastewater treatment plants to produce reclaimed water. They frequently in a new development will put in both water lines because, like I said before, they don't initially have enough water to supply reclaimed. And then as soon as they do, they convert to a separate reclaimed line for putting water out for these neighborhoods.
We have another question here about how is the water use amount from the utilities reported to the district, and how do we calculate that self-supply?
Okay. So all of the utilities do report their water use. That is a very detailed process, and our analysts look at that, double check it with pumping reports, and make sure it's as accurate as it can be in producing that annual report. And that annual report is available on our website for the public to see. And then the other part of that is self-supply. And we use a variety of methodologies to calculate what self-supply, meaning having a well in your yard, what they typically use. And we know from the local government tax service areas of utilities, we know approximately where those self-supply wells are located. And we have done some studies to determine how much on average they use. Frequently they use less because there are oftentimes more rural areas with large landscapes that do not always have an irrigation system. I know that Alachua County was trying to push meters, working with some of those homeowners to meter their use so they could get more accurate numbers. I'm not sure what the status of that project is right now, though.
Well, fabulous. It looks like we are just running over. I always get so excited about the questions that people have. But I do want to end with those of you who are still on the line and are still participating, feel free to enter your water conserving activity that you do that you're most proud of, and let us know. We'll talk about those next time. And Deirdre, what about you? What is the thing that you have done at your house in your personal life that you're most proud of and most excited about?
Okay, I have two things real quick. One is outside, we had a really bad irrigation system and the cost of completely gutting it and starting over was too high. So we converted all of our sprinkler heads to what are called rotary nozzles. They're a much more efficient way of distributing water, bigger water drops, less runoff. And we moved several heads to make sure that they're irrigating and the spacing was correct. And we halved the amount of water in our beds, in our landscape beds. So the turf grass gets a certain amount and the beds get half. Then indoors, I haven't installed all high efficiency toilets, but the one I installed most recently is 0.8 of a gallon per flush. It's called the Stealth toilet, and it's got a pressure assist, and it works really well and uses basically half of what building code says. So they're my two items of the water conservation at my house.
Oh, fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Deirdre, for giving us that wonderful overview of water conservation and how important it is. I hope you all will tune in to our webinar next week to learn more about your landscape and how it might be able to be improved or how it influences water quantity as well as water quality. And feel free to give us any ideas about future webinars that you would be interested in as well. Thank you so much for your participation and have a great Thursday.
Thanks, Jennifer. Bye, everyone.